Mark Carney continues to spend your money like it's water. And today, we're not pulling any punches on what's going on in Canada in the last 24 hours. We've got a national disgrace wrapped in two neat little packages, bundled up courteously of CTV and Mark Carney. First, we've got a new Nanos poll that surprise, so freaking prize, just so happens to paint the Liberals in a flattering light. And second, we've got Mark Carney releasing yet another spending promise. Our Prime Minister has suddenly announced that Canada is going to hit NATO's defense spending target of 2% of GDP, not by 2030, like he said in the election, not by 2027, this year. How in the Sam hell's he going to do that? Because that's right. He's spending tens of billions more of your money without a budget, without oversight, and without even pretending that Parliament gets a say in all of this. So let me ask you the obvious question here. How in the Sam hell is he going to do this? How does any of this make any sense whatsoever from this government? Let's tear this government approved fairy tale apart piece by piece. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
Welcome back to Bakes on Things. Thanks for being here. My name is Chris Baker, and let's start with the so-called poll that was just released yesterday from Nanos research that CTV News is parroting like it is gospel. The poll includes a number of questions, but it does include a specific question I was most interested in, asking Canadians if politicians should work through the summer. And of course, most Canadians would probably say yes to that. I think this number probably should have come in the 90% range, but it came in at about 53%, which is odd. Most of us do work through the summer, right? Like, I'm not making that up. But instead of reporting that as a common sense result, CTV and the Liberals spin it as public approval of the Liberals' current government's decision to hold some kind of summer strategy meetings, but not necessarily Parliament. That's a giant leap. It's also not what the public actually said, and that's not how the question was asked. This really isn't data, this is damage control. It's a narrative play, a distraction wrapped in cherry picked numbers for the Liberal government, all wrapped up with Nanos and CTV News playing right along. And if you look at the trend lines in Nanos polling, nothing dramatic is actually really happening here. Liberal support has floated around the low to mid 40s since the election, while conservative support has held steady in the high 30s to low 40s as well. No massive real shift, and this is a liberal leaning pollster. No comeback story for the conservatives. I get that too, but that didn't stop CTV from slapping a headline on all of this that screams liberals gaining more momentum. They aren't. It's exactly where it was, and I'd even argue it's falling backwards again. This is classic polling spin. You craft vague or leading questions, you report selectively on what the answers were, and then you slap a headline on it that pushes the story your political friends want told. That's not journalism. That's public relations in disguise, and it's complete and utter propaganda. So here's what the public should be asking. Who benefits from this poll being front and center yesterday, just before Mark Carney released his next big spending plan? Canadians are struggling with the cost of living, rising interest rates, record government waste. It's the Liberal Party of Canada is who's benefiting from all of this. Full stop, Mark Carney. So that's not the only thing that happened yesterday, though. And that's the big key here. These two things seem to be oddly interconnected because then Carney came out with a 2% defense spending promise, and it's all a budgetary illusion. Because if we move on to this latest bombshell of the king of fiscal theater, Mark Carney, one of the things we saw yesterday is that out of nowhere, Carney announced that Canada will hit NATO's defense target, the one we've never hit before, the spending target of 2% of GDP. And he'll do it this fiscal year. How exactly is that going to happen when we're not tabling a budget till the fall? I mean, that's not a misspeak I have here. He's claimed we'll go from under 1.4%, where we've been stagnating for years, by the way, to 2% immediately. No warning, no line by line budget, of course, and just a press release again and a promise. But I think we need to actually break this down because it's clear liberals are not listening. See, Canada has never spent 2% of GDP on defense in modern history. Never. Not once. The original liberal target was 2030. Then they pushed it to 2032. And then in the election, Mark Carney brought it back to 2030. And now Carney suddenly says, no, 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 we're going to hit it this year in 2025. While Parliament isn't even sitting. How is that even possible? How is that possible? He's doing this with no budget. Let me repeat that. There's no federal budget passed this year so far at all. And it's coming supposedly in the fall, when you'll then have 3 months to execute on this. And you've already spent over $70 billion using special cabinet authorizations and emergency powers signed off by the Governor General, whom again we say conveniently reports directly, oh, I don't know, to the guy who visited here a couple of weeks ago, the king. What is really truly going on here? Because now we have tens of billions of dollars being committed to military spending without any parliamentary debate. Did King Charles tell you he was going to sign off on this somehow? There's no oversight. There's no public breakdown of where that money is actually going or where you even got it from. And I would like to know, where are the journalists asking the real questions about this? They eat it up like it's slop like a pig. Where are the front page headlines about that? Where? Why is no one asking Mark Carney how he's actually going to do this? How exactly is Carney going to pay for this giant jump? Modern military hardware, folks, is not cheap. Submarines, F-35s, surveillance radars, cyber capabilities, satellite networks. These aren't off-the-shelf purchases. He's not walking into Best Buy to buy an F-35. You don't get to put this all on layaway at Walmart. So where is the procurement plan? Where are the logistics to all of this? And most importantly, where's the money coming from? And how are you going to do this from September to December when it couldn't be done in modern history? We're being told this is a bold move by the media and a brilliant play on Mark Carney's part, but it's baloney. If you're going to announce massive defense spending increases while Canadians are drowning in debt, while housing is unaffordable, and while food banks are absolutely exploding in demand and continue to rise in that demand, you better have a damn frickin' budget to show for it. But Carney has nothing. Not a budget, not even a spending balance sheet he can show us. Just an announcement, just a talking point, just another smoke bomb in the never-ending liberal circus that is this Canadian government. And this is getting out of hand. How can we have a parliament and then not use it? How is it that we are using the parliament only for a few weeks and then you all go on vacation, but we're going to still spend 2% of GDP on military by the end of the year? This is where it gets truly insulting to Canadians' overall intelligence. The government is not only refusing to table a budget until the fall, but they're also effectively shutting down for the summer. Parliament isn't sitting, so no one's going to look at this military spending. There are no committee reviews happening, no finance committee hearings. There's no questions allowed in the House of Commons because nobody is even in the House of Commons. In any real democracy, you'd call that a coup. In Canada, apparently we call it summer vacation, cottage time, my tea time next week. It's all summer strategy. What is happening here? This is executive power run wild. Carney's Liberals are spending record-breaking amounts of public money without permission from Parliament, and now they're adding military billions on top of that. All while the official opposition is locked out of the process altogether. But please, Conservatives, Bloc, NDP, enjoy your vacation on us the Liberals. Nothing to see here. This is not just political mismanagement. This is democratic erosion. And the mainstream media is cheering it on like it's some kind of liberal Mark Carney masterstroke, like the big banker has done something amazing here, that we've finally been able to achieve things. The problem is we haven't achieved a single thing yet. It's all promise, it's all spending, and nothing done. So let me be absolutely clear. This is not about whether we should spend more on defense. Reasonable people can agree that NATO targets are important. We are falling behind in defense spending, and we're not poo-pooing the fact that the Liberals should spend the money, but The reality is when, how, where's it coming from? How is this money being spent? And more importantly, who decides how it gets spent? Because Mark Carney, you are not a king. You don't get to throw around our billions of taxpayer dollars like monopoly money without any oversight, without budgets, and without consulting the people who elected this government in the first place, which, by the way, wasn't me, or the opposition that's meant to hold you all accountable. But you keep deking them. You keep finding ways to get around them even ever being able to talk about this topic. This is not leadership, Mark. This is not transparency. This is a slow motion power grab, and every time the media lets it slide, Canadians lose a little bit more of their voice and a lot of bit more of their money. This is ridiculous. So, no, I'm not buying any of the spin. I'm not buying Nick Nanos' spin. I'm not buying CTV News spin. And I'm sure as hell not buying Mark Carney's spin. And neither should any of you. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching Bakes on Things. I really appreciate this entire audience and all of the comments that you make. If you do like what you see, please like, subscribe, and comment. It always helps grow the channel through the algorithm. But I also love to see your comments as well. If you're furious about this as much as I am, then please do smash that like button. And our out of control government might get in control somehow. I don't know. But the biggest thing here is we cannot sit here quietly. We're not letting them rewrite the narrative unchallenged. So until next time, I'm Chris Baker. Thanks for watching Bakes on Things, and we'll catch you again tomorrow.